Hi, good morning. We are Group 5 of 10 Endurance, and today in this video we are going to talk about corrosion control. So before we start, let us define what corrosion is. Corrosion is a natural process that converts a refined metal into a more chemically stable form such as oxide, hydroxide, or sulfide. And also, corrosion is one of the most common phenomena that we observe in our daily lives. You must have noticed that some objects made of iron are covered with some orange or reddish-brown color layers at some point in time. The formation of this layer is a result of a chemical process known as rusting, which is a common form of corrosion. We also have 6 types of corrosion. Number 1 is crevice corrosion. Number 2, stress corrosion cracking. Number 3, intergranular corrosion. Number 4, galvanic corrosion. Number 5, pitting corrosion. And number 6, uniform corrosion. And we have the advantages of corrosion, which is, number 1, corrosion of a material has to be renewed, thus giving scope of continuous demand for materials. And number 2, corrosion becomes advantageous when a surface produces an oxide film that will keep corrosion from proceeding further, which happens to aluminum metal.
And for the opposite, what are the dangers of corrosion in our environment? When the materials interact with the environment around them, deterioration caused by corrosion can occur. In commercial application, this usually pertains to damage to steel, iron, or metal from road, rail, and bridge maintenance, warehouse cylinders, and tanks, utilities, and pipework. Once corrosion starts, structural failure is almost certainly inevitable. The main dangers and effects of corrosion in our environment are as follows of high risk of employee injury or injury to the general public, loss of industrial equipment's time availability. When appearance is affected, corrosion can reduce the overall value of a building or location. Pipe blockages or mechanical damage to pumps, valves, and etc. Damage to surroundings or dangers to individual because of leaking gases or liquids. And the last one is contamination of fluids in pipes or vessels.
How can we prevent corrosion? We can prevent corrosion by, firstly, design. Corrosion controls begin at the engineering stage. If the part is for use in an environment where it is susceptible to corrosion, manufacturers should design the part with that in mind. Second, protective coating. Coatings can provide a layer of protection against corrosion by acting as a physical barrier between the metal parts and oxidized elements in the environment. One common method is galvanization, in which manufacturers coat the part with a thin layer of zinc. Thirdly, environmental control. Many environmental factors impact the likelihood of corrosion. It helps to keep metal parts in a clean, dry place when in not use. If you intend to store them for a long time, consider using methods to control the level of sulfur chloride or oxygen in the surrounding environment. Fourth is cathodic protection. It is possible to prevent corrosion by applying an opposing electrical current to the metal surface. One method of cathodic protection is an inverse current using an outside source of electrical current to overpower a corrosive current in the part. The last is maintenance. Protective coatings, environmental control, and cathodic protection are effective ways of preventing corrosion in metal parts. However, these measures are nothing without ongoing maintenance and monitoring. Coatings can wear over time. Every small nicks and scratches can lead to corrosion. Be sure to keep parts clean and apply additional protection as necessary. How does chemical reaction occur in corrosion? Let us watch this video.
Imagine 4 objects: an aluminium toy, an iron nail, a copper pipe and a gold ring are left out in the open for many years. Which of the four materials do you think will be in the best condition when they are rediscovered? Pause, think, and continue when ready. If you think the gold ring is likely to be in the best condition, you're right. The copper pipe and the iron nail will appear in a worse condition, but the aluminium toy is also preserved very well. Most likely, the iron nail will appear in the worst condition. This is because of corrosion. Corrosion is described as formation of compounds on the surface of a metal when it is exposed to air and/or water or an electrolyte like salt water. Typically, once a metal corrodes, it forms compounds known as oxides or hydrated oxides. The nail, made of iron, rusted. This, by the way, is the only time you should use the term rusting. All other metals are considered as having been corroded when they react with water and/or oxygen in the air. But why would the nail be more corroded than the aluminium toy, the copper pipe, or the gold ring? Have you any ideas? Pause the video and continue when ready. The reason is, the metals all have different reactivities. Iron corrodes faster because it is more reactive than the copper and the gold. But you may be wondering, well, why didn't the aluminium toy corrode the fastest? The truth is, the aluminium is more reactive than the iron, so it reacts fastest with the oxygen from the air, forming aluminium oxide. Aluminium oxide is very unreactive because once the oxide layer is formed on the surface, it binds very tightly to the surface of the metal, so no cracks can form and cause further corrosion. Here's a challenge. How might you use this idea to protect the iron nail? The answer is that by covering a metal like iron with another more reactive metal, like zinc, is that the zinc forms the zinc oxide layer quickly. The iron underneath is protected. This process is called galvanizing and can last up to 100 years. If you think of the metal on a bike, corrosion can be prevented by painting the frame, a static part, or greasing the metal parts like the chain which moves, or by covering it with a thin layer of a less reactive metal like tin, copper or gold, but that would be very expensive.
So that's all for corrosion control. Again, we are Group 5 of 10 Endurance. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something.
담은 컬러 너무 좋아.